So class, this video is about Quetzalcoatl, and we've talked a lot about that deity. Um, so something that kind of happened during the Toltec era that got incorporated into the Aztec religious worldview is Quetzalcoatl, and let me throw out a crazy anthropology term. Quetzalcoatl becomes anthropomorphized, meaning instead of just a feathered serpent who's deified, is now he's shown in human form. And this is really likely because a Toltec was able to convince everyone, or people became convinced that he was a living embodiment of Quetzalcoatl. So sort of from post-classic times on, you see Quetzalcoatl sort of as a human. Well, let me just show you some pictures. So a human with feathered serpent properties. So notice all the feathers in the back. And that's just an amazing piece right there. So remember the long-standing tradition of this deity, and but it also evolves, as you go through time, as you go from culture to culture. Pretty cool. So this gets me to a concept. I wasn't sure quite where to put this kind of discussion, but here's a pretty decent place because it does center on Quetzalcoatl. So let me talk about a concept called social memory. And this is the construction of a collective notion, not an individual belief about the way things were in the past. Social memory is not history. It is, if we think of history as the academic discipline of analyzing historical records to reconstruct the way things were in the past, social memory is not that. It is what we collectively believe the past to have been. So social memories are not ready-made reflections of the past, but eclectic, selective reconstructions. And those reconstructions are done through purposeful acts of remembering and forgetting. This is why, those Confederate memorial statues in the South are such a stain on our country, because we think of the Civil War, and really it was a group of people trying to secede from our union, right, in an effort to keep slavery going. And those Confederate statues are a way to purposely misremember the Confederates and glorify them, right? And that goes a long way into propagating and supporting racist ideologies and rhetoric, etc. So to bring this idea of social memory onto the Aztecs, something I think really fascinating happened during the conquest. So Quetzalcoatl is in the pantheon, in this kind of anthropomorphized form, and they start to one of the ways in which they religiously came to terms with the decimation that we're about to discuss in the next set of videos for the week. One of the ways they came to terms with it was to blame Quetzalcoatl, and he's shown like fall down drunk and really blaming that god for sort of not performing his duties as a reason why things were going so bad. And I don't know that I can point to other examples where a portion of the religion is sort of castigated. It's usually the followers, right? The practitioners who didn't do things right, who turned away, who, made mistakes. Think of the Native American ghost dance, right? Oh, we stopped, you know, glorifying our ancestors and the gods the way we should have, and so we need to do this new dance to kind of rectify things. That's not what the Aztecs like, man. It's Quetzalcoatl's fault, at least, So interesting. It's kind of interesting to think about how is our current situation going to be socially remembered, right? Is it a stain on our history? Is it a glorified piece of our history? How it gets remembered is not going to have 100% to do with what actually historically happened, right? So it's interesting to see how these things are going to evolve and turn out. Think about the COVID-19 thing. Is it going to be a when we look back upon it in 50 years time or 100 years time, is it going to be this remembered as this harrowing time where people came together and the government came together and it was bad, but it could have been a lot worse? Or is it going to be remembered as one of the worst responses to a national global crisis that our country's ever known? History will tell one story, but how people choose to remember it is kind of another enterprise and another thing worthy of study. Okay, that's it for this video. I will see you in the next one.